Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Inspired by Jimmy L. Today we have Mr. Ernest Owens, multimedia journalist. Ernest Owens, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on.
I thank you for saying yes. You have no idea how much I'm appreciative of that.
Oh, wow, that's touching.
Ernest, one thing I definitely wanted to touch bases with is, now you've been on CNN, countless times, okay? But one of the things that definitely that stands out for me is, of course, this controversial or divisive viral tweet that was sent to Justin Timberlake or tweeted at him in regards to this whole Jesse Williams 2016 BET Awards speech. Now, my question is, before all of that, because a lot of people like me, I did not come to really know or see you until that. But before all of that, you were always this activist, like long before that. Am I correct?
Yeah, I was. I would describe myself more of a journalist that was covering social issues, but many people have, taken up the mantle and called it activism. But I do believe that journalism is a form of public service, and it can espouse that. So I was doing a little bit of that, but
Just a little
I guess I never thought of it in my mind in that kind of way. I just kind of did the work, and then if it made that kind of impact. But like, to me, I'm just like, if stating facts is a radical thing, then so be it. Because all I was doing was just telling the truth. And we have, as a community, as a society, I think we have made everything activism, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but that even people just telling the truth is an act of resistance in the Trump era. And even before Trump was elected, which this incident happened before Trump was elected. This was summer 2016. He got elected November 2016. So we was at a time where, tensions was high because he was, really, really out there, saying some really crazy things. And, for me, I want to say, 26, I was 24 years old when that post went up, because I'm born October 12th. So I was 24. And, oh my goodness. It seems like it was almost yesterday when that post was done. Yeah, I was 24 years old in 2016, in the summer. And I had just graduated. I had to graduate from college in 2014 from the University of Pennsylvania. So I was about 2 years into my post undergrad journalism career, just starting off. I was writing for a free paper. I was doing a lot of local media. I did a little bit of national stuff, but a lot of it was with the Huffington Post, which is, I was doing some blog posts for them I had started off when I was in college. But I hadn't really got into the national scene until that happened, because from that incident, I got offers to write for other groups and other places. And then, my Twitter following built, and then next thing you know, I got a verified account, and now I'm getting close to 15,000 followers on Twitter. But back then, I had no verified account. I think at the time, if I last count, was around 2,000 followers on Twitter. And I had built a relationship locally. I had got a name for myself locally for some of the stuff I was writing about in Philadelphia. But as far as the big national, that was a breakthrough.
Well, you know what? I'm actually really glad you brought that up. Especially coming from a local standpoint. So even not dealing with the national issues, just even locally, what was in your mind, or what gave you the idea that you needed to be the one to speak up for those that couldn't speak up for themselves?
Well, and I always tell people, and I have an admiration for local reporters, and I still do local, stories and columns, and I still have that connection. And I always think, personally, in my opinion, the best journalists are those who really, have an understanding of what's happening in their own backyard before they start talking about what's happening in their backyard. And that was something that was important to me, and it still is. Like, I do a lot of national work. I've been published in the New York Times recently, and now I'm still every week writing for the Philadelphia Magazine, which is, I'm a writer at large there, and that keeps me around. Some people in the industry, they live in New York, and I'm not throwing shade. I'm just saying, they live in New York, and different parts, And they'll talk about what's happening in the White House and the Oval, and what's happening in this city in Chicago with gun violence, or what's poverty is happening in Memphis and stuff. But I'm looking at them like, where is this energy for what's happening in your backyard, in your community? And so people cannot tell me what's happening in Philadelphia, because I live here. I'm seeing the gun violence. We're the poorest major city in the country. I'm talking about poverty. Yes, people don't know that. Like the major cities, the LAs, the New Yorks, the Chicagos, we are per capita the poorest major city.
I really didn't know that. I really didn't know that.
People didn't know that, but I know that, right? Because I'm in here, I'm talking to people, I'm building that relationship, but I'm also still looking at the national stuff that's going on. I'm still looking at what are the trends, what are the other things happening. And I want to tell all of the writers out there and people in media that are so much chasing that national, you could do local stories that go national. Because I've done that several times in my career. Like I've had these big moments with like the Justin Timberlake situation, with the back and forth I've had with Sean King publicly. I've had these bigger national things, but I've also had local stories and things I care about take front into the national conversation. So there's no such thing as a small story, big story, or whatever. People care about news, and if it connects to them, they will go to it.
You know what? Now, definitely speaking in regards to poverty. I remember you had a question. I think it was in one of the articles, or it could have been an interview question. But you stated that that where you asked the question, where can we spend our social capital to open up doors for the disenfranchised? And I guess my question to you in response to that is, do you really believe that opening doors for them is the key to their success, or coming out of poverty, or giving them opportunity, or is that just one of the keys to many?
Well, that's a good question. The first thing is that I believe there's always going to be multiple ways of doing something, but I always tell people that just because someone is poor doesn't mean they're dumb. Just because someone does not have the resources and personal means to achieve their dreams doesn't mean they don't have a dream, a plan, or a vision. I have personally, in my life, have recognized that when somebody opened the door for me and gave me, an opportunity to have that audition, to have that interview, I had the vision, I had the ideas. I just needed the opportunity and access to do it. And in many of these cases that I'm seeing in my city, and I'm observing across the industry, is that there are people who have some really great ideas, but they don't have there's no one taking that shot, giving them that chance, or putting them in the right room to be able to work. And so it's a conversation about, what kind of person are you? Are you a opportunity provider, or are you a gatekeeper? And in our careers, we navigate through some of those types of situations, which can be good or bad. And when I look at where I'm at in the industry, I always tell myself, someone paved the way for me, someone gave me that, and if there's some opportunity to help someone, to bring visibility to something that someone's doing, I do. And one of the examples of that personally has been that when given opportunity to do interviews on shows, I will do the CNNs and MSNBCs, but I will also do the local niche, digital radio shows and podcasts and things like that. I don't really turn down opportunities to do me if I have the time, and the program is of interest to me. I don't really check for labels. And a lot of people in the industry that I've worked with, they're very big on that. They're like, oh, I'm not going to do this interview. This week I did a New York Times op-ed about cancel culture and Obama, and I had outlets like WRD, which is the only Black-owned radio station in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, reach out to me to come on for a segment. I had NPR this week reach out to me and do a segment. I also, had other groups, and I've always said, if there's an opportunity for me to come on and spread knowledge, or to help, bolster someone's program and they want me on, and there's a good situation there, I'm not going to be too high and mighty not to do it. And I think that's some of the little things that I do, in addition to some of the major things that I do, that is all about increasing opportunity access. So in Philadelphia, I'm the vice president of print for the Philadelphia Association of Black Journalists.
Oh, okay. That I
We
did
are
not know
the
either.
yeah, we are the founding chapter. I've been in the position for close to a year now.
Okay,
We
okay.
are the founding chapter of the National Association of Black Journalists. We predate them. We were founded in 1973, and we have been doing this work for decades. One of the most important things that I have not lost sight of is that even though I have this emerging career and I've had so many great opportunities, I am still in rooms with people who are starting. I'm in rooms with people who are retiring, and I am
Mhm.
looking and seeing, what's new and what's going on, and what are the issues. Because if you're not looking at the media ecosystem, I'm saying a lot of these really huge Black media personalities this because I've seen a pattern, and you probably have too, where you get one or two that they put up there, and then they fall, or they don't have a support system. They get canceled out of a show, they get fired from a job, and then they kind of disappear, or they have to do it by themselves. And I have a team behind me. I have a real strong core group of people that I am often, you know, working with, collaborating with, that helps me stay sustainable and relevant no matter where I go. And I think we need to start really realizing that how that happens is by having relationships with people who are starting, people that are retiring, people that are your contemporaries that's currently in the business, and always, keeping in touch and just, seeing where people might need support and helping them where they are. Because that's really how you build that base and build that network so that you never fall. To me, it's the investment in the safety net. I'm not afraid of my career, of where my career will go, because I have people that I have personally invested in, and people who have invested in me that's going to make sure I'm going to be okay. I'm at a point in my career where I can say that if anything was to be lost tomorrow, today, I will not go hungry. I would not have something, because I have so many great people around me that are often looking out for me for things I can't see, and stuff that I have seen. They're finding ways to support me regardless. So it's really about thinking about having both. And that's kind of what I've been doing.
When I say, I feel like you're looking at my questions in advance, and I don't know if I appreciate that, Ernest.
Oh, third eye.
Because I
And
just
for
promise you.
and to the listeners, like, I have not gotten the question. I have not. I don't even know what turn we was gonna go. But
When I say,
cool.
because like this is bridging perfectly, because my next question and what I really want to spend some time about is
Yeah.
blind spots and privileges. And so
Hmm.
because when you're talking about giving people opportunity, or you're talking about ensuring that you are paying attention to the people that are in the room with you, and again opening doors for them, or at least giving them again the opportunity, or even when you're talking about people that are in your circle that are self-aware enough to be able to work with you to kind of help and pretty much have your back in the industry, how can you build up, or I don't want to say remove, because I don't think they ever really go away, but how do you work around those blind spots? Because we all have them. You know what I mean? Like, we
Yeah.
all have them.
When I first started off in the industry, very early, there were some people who, to this day, people that you have seen on TV and have seen on a lot of interesting channels, that I saw. Oh, we have to. This. I want this person to be my mentor. I want this
Mm.
person to be someone who can show me the ropes. And I've seen in that people are just not a good fit. And the longer you stay in a space or in a market, or you're doing media, you'll begin to realize that the fit isn't because of success or accomplishment or achievement. That there has to be real relationships that you're like, you know what, I want to connect with this person because I like who this person is. And the only way to get to know them is to get to know them, or to really listen to, and observe them on a personal level. There are a lot of people in the industry that I looked up to because of their personal achievements,
Mm-hmm,
and their
mm-hmm.
career and the things that they had, and thought, oh, this person is always getting a national syndicated TV slot. This person has a book, and I would look at these things and I would say, this is why I should aspire to connect with them, or to have a relationship with them. And what I've learned through time is that some of these people are just bad people. Like, they're just not nice. They're not good people. They are fiscally successful but piss poor morally. And recognizing that in this industry, people, the person that's a seed today will be a tree tomorrow. And that's really what has happened in my career. There have been people that, when I first started off, I can, there are people that will testify to this, but when I first started off, there were a lot of people that was counting me out. They said, "Oh, you're too young, you're too gay, you're too flamboyant, you talk about race too much." All of these things that people looked at that would be deterrents in my career were actually enhancers and actually attributes to my career. And so if I did not have the right people in my circle that was encouraging me and telling me to keep going the course, I could have easily fell into the trap of modeling my career after a lot of other people that are in the industry. And that's why you see so many gimmicks. I have to keep it 100. That's why you're seeing so many gimmicks and so much replication of personalities and voices and the language. I mean, people are at a point where they're even using the same
Yes,
vernacular
they
in
are.
interviews. I'm listening and I'm like, every single, this is a script, and I'm seeing it in writing, I'm seeing it in interviews, and they're using the same types of scripts. And quite frankly, my vernacular and my jargon has evolved as a person. So I was born in Chicago. I grew up in Houston, Texas most of my life. Now I live in Philly. And so how I say things, how I think about things is a combined experience of all of those experiences. East Coast living, Southern upbringing, Midwestern, values. All of that has made my personality, unique in how I see things. And I don't see everything a certain kind of way. I can't see everything 100% the East Coast way, no matter how hard, some people want to force that upon me. I don't see everything the Southern way either. Like, there's some things that I'm like, listen, we can do a little bit better, y'all. But that has shaped my voice and my unique voice. And I've learned to embrace what makes me different rather than focus on how I can find quote unquote common ground. There's too many people in the industry trying to find this commonality and try to link themselves to so many people that, quite frankly, it's not a fit. And I've had to learn early that the kind of mentors that I've won in the career, all of them are not in media. I was looking for a media mentor. Now, there are some in the industry I do admire. I love Oprah. I got to meet her and had the experience of the lifetime. I'm a big fan of Byron Allen. I've been a big Byron Allen fan before he had this Comcast controversy that everyone's talking about right now with the courts. I have been in acknowledgement of his career for years. I literally started my own media company and had that independence partially because I saw someone like him as a Black man in media, very much talking about owning your own things and really taking pride in ownership. And that was one of the guiding principles that inspired me. In addition to Oprah, like this idea of media entrepreneurship, those are some virtues. But there are people in the industry that I, thought I was going to like because they were speaking the same types of talk about social justice issues and how to combine that with media and academia. And without naming names, there are some of those people I look and I'm like, you're wanting different things than what I want. For me, it's not about the fame. I have increased visibility, is how I describe it. There are a lot of people that know me more than I would like sometimes. But I would say that has given me the access and the space and opportunity to make an impact on people's lives on a local level. And I can quantify a lot of the things that I've done through numbers. I think a lot of people say they made an impact. They say, well, how did you make an impact? And they can't translate what they do sometimes in numbers. And listen, let's be clear, not everything can be quantifiable. You can't always measure it. But I think there are times where you have to sit back and say, okay, you're doing all this talk. How are you translating that? And so one of the things I've done is I created a small network in Philadelphia called Millennium Me Makes a Color, which was creating networking events throughout the city that was specific about bringing young Black and brown people in media together, because I felt like we were always isolated and segregated. And we are now 400 people strong in a network of the listserv where I'm sending out information about job opportunities, trainings, and conferences. 400, that's a number, right?
Wow.
And
Oh, wow.
PABJ, I just helped fundraise $50,000 for the Philadelphia Association of Black Journalists so we could put that in training opportunities for our over 150 members. We got to put this in numbers. We got to put impact in numbers sometimes, because there's a lot of people out here like, oh, I've made an impact. And it's like, well, where is that impact? How are you describing that? Because simply, having a cop winning an award, no shade, it can be an inspiration to somebody, right?
It
But
can. It can.
that's not making an impact, right? Somebody wins a Grammy. Yeah, there's some kid watching their favorite celebrity win a Grammy or win this award, and that makes you feel good. That's cool.
For
But
a
what
brief
about,
moment.
right? It's a moment. It's not a movement.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm about investing in movements, not just moments.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Why did I not meet you like 8 years ago? Like, what the
Because
hell?
I was 21 in college, and I was 20 actually. I'm 28 now. So
Oh
8 years ago I
man.
would have been 20. I would have been 20 in college, and I would have not had any of this advice because I did not have any of this experience to have the ideas I have now. So
I
that's
will
probably
say,
why.
Ernest, I would say I really do appreciate, and not just your candor, but I appreciate your honesty in general, and definitely bringing up people that has the potential of being mentors in your life and people that we look up to. Like I really appreciate you stating that, but because you're correct, there's a lot of different things that we see in the industry and in any industry,
Correct.
because most
Yeah.
people, if you see something that works, you're going to see a lot of duplications of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I will say that it was for me like Oprah is my all-time favorite, like
Yeah.
100%.
Yes.
But I'm looking at her, Gary Vaynerchuk and Hal Elrod they have been national mentors of mine. I do have one here locally, but they have been my national mentors. And so they are 100% different. And so I'm saying all of that to say that it's been driving me crazy listening to them and wanting to do a lot of their practices, but without losing my own voice within what
Correct.
their advice is. And so
Correct.
to hear you say that at the end of the day, you can look up to a mentor, and a lot of them are duplicating different things anyway. At the end of the day, you still have to take a step back and do what actually works for you. And so I cannot say enough how much I am so grateful that you just mentioned that in regards to these mentors and people that are out there. So what's next for you, Ernest? Like what's on the horizon for you?
Oh goodness. Well, there's one thing I will say, and this is some advice I've gotten this year. My biggest piece of advice that I've gotten this year has been that just because you're making a lot of moves doesn't mean you're going anywhere.
Mm.
And that is something that
Oh,
has drove my year and how I've thought about the next um, steps in my career. So one of the things that I've, in this, and it's about learning. In a couple years ago, I found myself in a situation where I always felt like, I'm going to drag on this, but I want to put this all in perspective because I think this would be great for listeners. But I also think this would really answer your question and kind of put it all there. But I've been really thinking about that because every time there's always that question, and it's a question that everyone asks people all the time: what's
mm-hmm.
next, and what does that answer mean? And so a couple years ago, I found myself in a situation where I was always being asked that question. And sometimes I didn't know, or I always felt like I had to be doing something or have to be doing anything to be able to have to answer that question.
Okay,
And
okay.
one of the things I would do is I would say, you see a lot of people in your life, and we know people like this that are quote unquote making moves, right? They're doing this thing, they're doing that thing, they're doing this thing, they're doing that thing, and they're doing these things to keep themselves productive and busy so they can always be able to answer questions like what's next. And for me, I found myself doing that where, and you probably see this. I mean, you definitely have seen this, and some of the listeners do, where you see certain people and things, and they're just doing this and that, and these are all great, cool things. And I found myself in that trap, like doing these things, saying yes to that, doing this, and then I took a step back and I was like, maybe a year ago, and I said, okay, why did I do all of that? Like, where is the career and the direction of the career that I wanted, the things I wanted, they weren't aligning. The things I was doing were great things, but they were not according to the plan and direction I wanted my career to go. Because it was just scattered.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that makes sense, but it was just
It
like,
does. It does.
it was just scattered things, like taking this opportunity, taking that. And I see some people in the industry now, and I don't want to call them names, but you know, they were like, okay, I'm going to be a social justice activist and write this book. But I'm going to also own a coffee shop, and I'm also going to do the basketball wives reunion, and I'm just going to do all these things and scatter them. That's how some people work, and everyone looks at that as success. And I began to take a step back and realize that I was doing those things in my career early on, taking this thing, taking that thing. I was like, okay, but there's no focus here, and it's misdirected. Is it success? Sure. But is it misdirection? Yes. And I always tell people all the time now is that, you know, movement without vision goes nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have a vision. You got to have a plan. You can't just be moving. No vision, no plan. So I had to align. I got to a point where last year, and this will explain what happened this year and answer this question for you, is that last year I got to a point where I said, okay, for all of these random things I've done in my career right now that has gotten attention and buzz, none of these things have helped push me to the part of my career that I've wanted. I've had goals for myself, and I'm not attaining these goals. They're not hitting the direction I want. And for some reason, I'm successful, but at the same time, I don't feel like I'm being fulfilled. What's happening?
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Listen, this is
Oh my
testimony. I'm
gosh.
talking to you. I'm talking. I'm
Okay.
telling you.
Okay. Come on.
I had a moment last year, and so I was just looking at so of the stuff I was doing. And let me tell you, let me be clear. Some of the stuff was in part of my career, and it
Okay.
was great, and it did make an impact, and it did. But as you get older and you have certain experiences and expertises, what you thought was going to be the vision then changes. And so one of the things that was a part of my vision and my changing was that I thought for several years that the goal was that I was going to do all this work and make all these moves so that I can get picked up by a major media company and go in that direction. And then there was a moment I realized that's actually not what I want. Like I love what I do as an independent. I started my own company last year, Ernest Media Empire LLC, and it's a media production communications consulting company. And basically, that's all of my contracts and work that I do all go through that company. And I created that because I knew deep down inside that I wanted to be independent and that direction was to go that way. But I got all of these different options and things going my way, and people were basically shadow auditioning me for certain positions and roles and things. And I was like, okay, these are all cool major moves, but it's like that's not where I'm trying to go. And so I had to make some decisions that basically made me more disciplined to the vision I have for myself and where I'm at now. And so this year, some of the things that I did and some of the things I'm working on, you asked me what's next, here's how it goes. I got into a master's program with USC, which is communication. It's a master's degree in communication management. It's an online course. It's an online program where I'm taking courses online through USC, but able to stay in Philadelphia to do my work. I, for a long time, wanted to get an advanced degree that was specifically about giving me the skills I need to invest in my entrepreneurship skills. This program allows me to get the type of information and knowledge so I can be a better business owner and a better communications and media company owner. That was something that I said this year, I'm going to apply, I got accepted, and I got it. And that was one investment that a year ago I should have been doing. I was supposed to be thinking about that last year, but I was so caught up in doing all these different things that I did not actually realize, wait a minute, I have the goals I got to do. So I applied that program, got in. I'm in my first semester, cranking it out, doing my thing.
Way to go. Oh my gosh.
Thing that was
Oh
important for
my
me was I
gosh.
always said, people kept telling me, you should write a book, you should write a book, you should write a book. And I was like, I'm gonna get to that. And I just kept playing around. And then this year, I finally hinkered down. By the graces of some good people in my network, I got a book agent. I finished my book proposal. My book agent is now sending the proposal out. fingers crossed on a book deal. And that's the phase I'm at. But I got serious about it this year. I said, you know what? This is something that I've wanted to do, and I have goals. Other things that I'm working on is that this work I'm doing, Philadelphia Association of Black Journalists, I got elected to the board. I'm the vice president of print, like I said. That was something I was investing. I said, I need to get back in the community. I need to start making an impact. And how can I do that? And I said, I got to get on a board. I need to do some work with my Black journalists. And I kept saying it, and I kept, talking about this, that, and third. But I got serious. I ran for the board, got on the board, and now I'm in a position where I'm held accountable to really doing that kind of work in a way that makes me feel good, but also hits my goal to be about a community impact. These were some very specific things that I told myself I was going to do this year. And in addition to other stuff, but those were the hardcore goals. And so for next year, it's really about finishing up this master's program, this book, hopefully next year, definitely for sure, the book deal getting situated and getting finalized, doing the work I'm doing with this organization, continue to expand all of my different ideas and new publications. I had a goal this year that I was going to, be in different publications outside of what I was already in, and I've hit that goal. And so it's really about expanding all of that for next year. So that's where I'm at. That's my what's next.
When I say you really are an amazing inspiration. I mean, and I don't think just to our queer community, but I mean to just people in general. Like I really do appreciate you digging deep into that in regards to your mindset from what it was last year to what you have actively put in place for this year. I really do appreciate you saying that. I really do.
Thank you.
Oh wow.
And everybody has that. Yeah, and I agree. Everyone has that in their career where they have to think about that you get to a point where you got all these things going. And only you, right? The individual knows. Everyone around you, you gotta, I'm not gonna say you gotta channel it out, but everyone around you could be telling you you're doing good. And that's real. Like, we all need the confidence and the boost. And by all means, let me be clear, nothing was flopping or failing publicly, but personally, I felt like I was losing focus on the type of goals I wanted to achieve in my career for myself and some of the things I did. And also, here's one other piece of advice, and something that was very important to me, is that as much as I'm a team player and I love working with people and I always have my friends and everything, sometimes the investment you make in a dream or a goal, sometimes you should just do it by yourself. Sometimes you should create an element of surprise on some Beyonce digital video, album drop. Like, sometimes you have to do certain things where you should like surprise people and surprise yourself. And there are some times where everything doesn't have to be vocalized. Now, I'm not saying that there's some things where you're gonna have to work with team players and you need to be talking to people.
Correct.
Financial, but there are some things where it might be a personal investment and you should just focus on it. So the best example, and I held myself to this, and this is a fun fact. And I haven't even told anybody out loud. I don't think I've ever publicly talked about this, but nobody knew I was applying into my master's program.
Oh.
I didn't tell anyone I was going to grad school. And most of my close friends for years knew I was very critical about it, because I tell people, and I still believe this, I don't care what anybody say. If you are a working professional journalist that is active in journalism, that has jobs and work, do not waste your money and go get a master's in a journalism program.
Okay.
If you want to go to school, get an MBA, get a management communications degree, get anything but a journalism degree, because I have learned in the industry, what you're going to learn in those classes, you've already learned. And if you want to make connections, there are other ways to make those connections and taking out them loans and them debts. If you're going to take out loans, I would rather you take out loans to go to some of these big media conferences and journalism conventions and get the skills and get the network, rather than putting yourself through school, stressing yourself out in journalism. Now, if you're trying to get a communications master's to, because you never know. You might go corporate, you might change careers depending on what the economy looks like. You should always have a backup plan.
Correct.
Go get that. Go get an MBA. Go get something that is a professional based in that kind of skill set way. Because whatever you get from those skills, those could be transferable through various industries. So like this communication management degree, listen, if I may not feel like in 10 years, writing articles all the time like this, who knows? Maybe I am, maybe I won't, who knows? But I want to have something that can give me skills that are applicable for my current work situation. But down the road, I might, want to be, a spokesperson for something or do something different. I want to have an investment. And so I tell people, always have that in the back of your mind. But to my point, I did not tell anyone I was applying for a master's program. I kept it a secret. I told no one. It was during the summer. I sent my applications. The only people I informed were people I needed referral letters from. And those were some really upper
Close,
level,
like very
close people that I worked with in the past. On a board I served on, the executive director of a nonprofit I had worked with, a really, really senior, seasoned mentor of mine. And then those two wrote recommendation letters. Who else wrote one? And then I had another, close mentor. Oh, yes, my academic advisor in college when I went to the University of Pennsylvania. I had her write the other one. So I had 3 women, and they wrote it. And these were all women that were like old enough to be my mother. Like I said, you gotta hold this. And they did, because they weren't even in my current network. But everybody else, no one knew. Nobody knew. Didn't tell anybody, no one said anything, no one knew what was coming. And then the day I got accepted, I told everybody an hour, my closest friends, an hour before I made it public. And they were like, what? Huh? What? And I dropped it like that. It was a whirlwind. People lost their mind. I got all these likes on Facebook. Everybody was like, what? And people really were crazy. And the crazy part was everybody thought I was moving to LA because it said USC, but I have really explicitly in my mind. But people, people don't be reading all of them. People
they don't. They don't.
They see a picture and they already, they running with them. Like, can you read? I really broke this down. People in my comments, like, I could tell it was like a reading comprehension test. They were in my comments like, congrats, I'm going to miss you in Philly. I had to comment on the one post. I was like, clearly you did not. Just
boo. What is that boo?
In the long ass post, I said, I am still here. Like, anyway, that's another topic. But people were shocked, and I had fun with that. People were surprised, and it felt good. And everybody was just like, well, I didn't even tell my boyfriend.
Oh my God!
And we lived together.
Oh my gosh! You got
and we lived together. I did not tell anyone. I will encourage everybody. I encourage you. I encourage listeners. Do one thing for yourself that you don't tell anybody. Do it. Like, seriously, do it. He has done it. He's done a couple of things. Like he works in corporate communications, but his side passion is bartending and mixology. So he's about to create a business about mixology and cocktail making. He's really in love with that. He did not tell me until recently that he had taken, well, he took bartending class, I knew that, but that he was getting a certification in Scotch tasting. Didn't know. The guy just told me. And was like, oh, whoa, here you go. Like,
was he retaliating?
I know.
Was he retaliating?
No. Okay. He did actually. The funny part was he did it before I did my thing, and we talked about it. He's like, "Oh yeah, I just got a certificate in this guy." I was like, "You didn't tell me," but it wasn't anything crazy. It's just like and I think this is why I do it. So people are gonna ask like, "Why?" But why though? Here's why. Sometimes you can make a decision where you don't want no one's input or advice. I had my mind made up. You have your mind made up about something 100%, you don't necessarily need counsel. Really, though. Like, I think the worst thing that friends can do sometimes is, and not friends, but like, people might, associates, friends, is like, your mind is made up, but you ask your friends for advice. Well, why are we arguing on the phone all day? If your mind made up, what you gonna do? That's what I always tell people. People always be like, hey, I need help making this decision. And the truth of the matter is, they don't really need help making that decision.
You're not already
made up, but you're wasting my time. So I did not feel like I needed to call my friend and say, hey, I'm applying for grad school. What are your thoughts? Because quite frankly, and I love all my friends, everybody, I didn't need nobody's thoughts. I didn't want anybody's thoughts. Sometimes you don't, because you just never know. There's going to be people who's going to tell you don't need it. And I think most of my friends would have been on the side of you don't need it because you're doing well in your career. And that's true. But I wanted it for other reasons. And there was other things that I want to do to enhance it. And
It
so
was a
you just
personal
sometimes
accomplishment.
it's a personal thing you want to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody has that thing or that event or that that investment or that project or something where you just probably don't need nobody's input. Just make that decision yourself. And I will promise you that if it comes through the way it needs to, your friends are gonna be there rooting for you. When I announced it publicly that I was applying, everybody in my circle was like going crazy. Everybody was 100% happy, excited. Nobody had critique. They couldn't because it happened.
It was
done.
already done.
It
It's
was
done.
already done. And so you just gotta sometimes have those types of moments. And I'm telling you, some people, I've had friends, people I've seen make leaps. They relocated. They changed their job. They just completely got a different job in a different area, a different thing, and just didn't tell anybody. Who's like, whoa, okay, I see you. And I was happy for them because they made a decision that was best for them. And you can't be mad if your friend is 100% about it and they feel good about that decision and they really thought about it and put the effort and process into it. Who are you to stand? Who are you to criticize and be in the way?
Ernest, you are preaching to the choir, honey. We bought our house. We went and got married. Do you hear me?
Okay.
Woo! We did. Because it became this big ordeal. Everybody wanted to see a gay wedding, and we realized so many people. Yeah, honey, we shut it down.
Listen, my time is coming in that, and I'm just like on the fence. I do sure. Listen. I have had days in my head. I think I do think you said what's next. I do think I'll be engaged by next year.
Okay.
He doesn't think I'm telling y'all all my on this show. I don't think he doesn't. He's off at the gym somewhere, so I can talk to him. I think.
Oh my goodness!
I think it's gonna. I think it'll be next year.
Let's touch and agree. Let's touch and agree. Go ahead.
Right, and I think so. But I think as far as where my head is, I have wrestled with like how I want to do. Because you're right, they do want to see a gay marriage, and the girls out here, child, aren't they out here? I'm just in my
baby
having a whole, and I'm like, who is all this for?
And who is it?
And I've had two mindsets about this, and this is listen. This is my judge, but whatever. I've had one thought in my head, like, oh, if I got married, I would do it at City Hall because I wouldn't have to pay for the scenery. And then I could have like a little cute little cocktail, little mix of little thing, like for them. And then I would have a really good dinner, little party thing for my close people somewhere. I would rent out and I would keep the cost down that way.
We drove about 8 hours to Gatlinburg.
Listen, wow, that's real.
Yeah, hello.
I would have also done, and I also thought about this one too, was like, I have so many connections in Philly of people who do stuff. I was like, let me just throw a big old sponsored wedding, AKA this cake came from this person, I'd have to pay for it. These chicken wings came from this person. I was like, I'm just gonna a big old sponsored wedding.
Sponsor, yeah.
I wasn't gonna pay for nothing. Everybody's gonna sponsor everything. He was like, what you mean? I'm like, in the program, we're gonna have all the people. A thank you to all the people, and I'm gonna feed, and I'm not gonna have no guilt. I'm
my gosh.
But also, my bad. I said, listen, I'm gonna tweet y'all on social. I'm gonna promote y'all on my Twitter. I got verified. I got all these followers. I'm gonna hype y'all up and promote y'all. But it's gonna be responsible. I literally, I'm in the headspace now. I'm like, that's how I feel about it. I said, I'm gonna use this talk for something.
For something.
He's like, that's tacky. That's tacky.
That is not tacky.
All them logos. Listen,
it's a privilege. Okay,
it's a privilege to talk about. We talk about privilege on this show. That's one of them. His head though is he wants to, but he in his head made a joke and he's like, and I'm just shutting that down early. He's like, oh, I want to wear like the Kanye West wedding with Kim. I had the little flowers, all that. I said, sir, okay, you have to just do that. Okay, it's he's not a boomer, but like boomer, like okay,
like I hear you.
Like that's where my head like okay. Because I'm just like, listen, my thing is, if you can find that money, but see, I'm also too like, just because you can afford it, don't mean to spend it.
That you need to.
So that's my thing too. I'm just kind of like,
yeah.
Just because you can pull it out and do it, because then I'm gonna be in my bag. Like, so we've been together for 5 years. It'll be 6 years in February, the day before Valentine's Day. My mindset is, if you got all this if you got all this money or to put on a wedding, say for wedding, you could have did that for something else. We could have put a down payment on a house or this or that. So I
Or your
have,
honeymoon.
or the honeymoon,
Mm-hmm.
exactly, and then get people to do the what's that they do, the wedding people, what they do in nurseries where you can put stuff on a list.
Oh, the
Registry,
registries.
the registry. Like
Mm-hmm.
I would say, the registry could be put like all the engagement stuff for the honeymoon could be part of that. Because I went to a friend's wedding. She had both of my friends there, two women got married.
Mm-hmm.
That my homegirls, they had a boat wedding, and
Oh.
it was crazy. It was in New York on the Hudson. They turned out. Their registry, however, was only for honeymoon stuff. So it was like buy a hotel room, buy a flight, put money on the flight, put money, and so everything was about the registries of the honeymoon, but the wedding they expensive.
Wow.
I've been on two boat weddings this year, and I've never been on weddings. I was never like that person that went to weddings.
I'm
I'm
not
still not a
either.
wedding. I'm not a
Oh, I'm
wedding
not
going
either.
girl. There's people that like they
I'm
really
not
look
even
at a thing like a wedding crash.
a
I
big
will tell
thing.
you,
Mm-hmm.
this show was the first time I ever went on a wedding. Two weddings, they were both on boats. One was in Philly. That boat didn't move. That was in Mushaloo. And then this one was in New York and Hudson, and this was actually a moving boat. It was cool. It was very fun. But let me tell you, the person who just got me on that boat in Hudson, that was my next door college roommate. We've been friends for like 9 years. The other person, we in Philadelphia, he is one of my really, really close friends too. And we've been friends for 7 years. These were two close friends, aka
Mm-hmm.
these people go to every birthday party I have.
With you,
Like we're close.
uh-huh.
Don't invite me to your wedding. Like, oh, this cousin's wedding. No. Send you a flower, buy something to drink.
100%.
I
Ooh.
am not
Mm.
listen. I mean all that. Like I'm telling you, the next wedding. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I have another friend who just proposed to somebody, and again, he's was my boyfriend's boss. We're all good friends. He's getting married. We're really close. We're gonna go to his wedding too. If he does not have a destination, he's trying to do a destination. I'm like, okay, see, I'm not going to do it. I'm on radio.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, I'm going on
Oh
radio.
my.
I'm not, we're on air,
Oh.
so we live, so we not. But
No,
I
bring
will
it back.
say
Bring it back. Bring
that
it back.
I will go to the wedding if it is destination United States.
I feel you.
But I just feel
Yeah.
like with weddings, people want, people be wanting the most. But I like I said, everybody be inviting me. Oh, come on. I mean, I don't know you like that though. I
Yeah.
wouldn't even, because my mindset is, and I also feel this too. If you invite somebody to your wedding, then you got to go to their wedding, and it's like, okay, well,
Oh no. No, I don't have
but
that
that's,
obligation.
I don't have it. But no. But if I go to your wedding, I feel obligated to invite you to my wedding. I just feel like that's weird. So that's why I don't go, because I feel like I don't want to. But the reality is, I wouldn't want to go to someone's wedding I'm not cool with like that or close with like that. Anyway.
Like for real. Like I'm with you.
But people are really into. They go to weddings like funerals. Like I would not go to. I don't really do
Mm-hmm.
funerals. But
I
like
don't
if I
either.
do, it's gotta be like
Somebody
the
like
last funeral
really
I went to
close.
was like 2013. My grandmother had passed away. That's the last funeral I went to. I don't want to go to another one unless it's another person in my matriarch or really, really,
I,
really, really, really close
I
friend. But like all
understand.
these people, and as a journalist, sometimes they do, people want you to come to the press and do all that. I'm like, I'm not that girl. I'll be looking at people like, if I, heaven forbid, don't have people up in it I don't know just because they community, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm.
Keep it close and keep it folks that I knew and liked. Don't let fake people come. Just do that for
Honey,
me. Have a good time, eat
I
well,
done
and
told
drink
my
well,
husband I
and
don't even
sip.
want none of that. I don't want none of that. Cremate my body, spread me over
Uh,
some water, and move on.
See, I don't have a choice because I
I
know
don't want
people will
none of
not
that.
listen to that. They will still show up and show their ass. But I agree with you. With weddings, I need them to be very together. I need people to be very considerate. I need people to, be mindful. We were talking about the big wedding thing or whatever, and we was talking about that, and he was saying, my boyfriend, his name is Barry. He was talking about weddings. It's just like, oh well, we got a lot of people because I got to invite my cousin and their kid. I said, first of all, that's the other thing I like. It's not too many people in my family just having a bunch of kids. Like my uncle doesn't have any kids. Both of my grandparents are deceased. My father, my biological father, has passed away, but I have my stepdad. And I'm just like, these are the kind of people I would want to have. Like the main folks, the uncle don't even have other he don't have no kids, no baby mamas, nothing. So that's easy. Like I could count the people. I got 3 brothers. They're coming. They're all younger than me, so none of them have kids. Thank the Lord. They have none of that. This one over here, he got situations where he got brothers. One of his brothers have all these kids, but then they got baby mamas. Baby mamas. Like, no, that's not all the people you inviting. You invite the kid. I don't even know if I want the kid. I'm like I don't even know if I want all of that. Like I'm like, okay, so you can invite your brother clearly, his kids maybe, but past that it gets like I mean that's too because those are nieces. I'm like, okay, all of their kids though, I don't know about all of that.
But I will say what we initially planned, because we did all of the down deposits and venue. We had everything set up. We got married in September. We called it off in September of 2011. We got married then, but we called it off in May of that year. And I think it became legalized in June across all states that year. And so it just so happened to have been in Tennessee. But when I say we were not inviting anyone under the age of 21. No one was allowed under the age of 21.
And let me tell you right now, I am so close to that because the thing is, let me tell you, unfortunately, that's not the reality for me because my brother I have a 16-year-old brother and I have a 9-year-old brother. And my mother's gorgeous, so she just won't stop. But she stopped at the 9.
Wait a minute. Hold up, Mr. Ernest. Hold up, because I want to hear that. So I can stop recording here. Before we cancel this interview of recording, please tell me how people can get in contact with you, because I know good and well that people would want to know more about you. And definitely not just this engagement that's coming up, but also just being, I'm going to say, an activist or even a journalist. Please, by all means, please share your contact information.
Yeah, so people can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. I have the same handle, at Mr. Ernest Owens. So that's MrErnestOwens. And that's on Twitter and Instagram. And then I'm on Facebook. I have a Facebook like page, Ernest Owens, ErnestOwens. I encourage people to one of the things when I've been on shows, to just subscribe to my page to keep up with all my just media content, or subscribe to my personal page because I really can't take that many friend requests as much because I'm always hitting that 5,000. I have to friend people. So if you want to follow, just do the subscribe because you can still get my stuff. All of my posts, FYI, are public. I'm just like the Washington Post, the Washington Papers, the Pentagon Papers, public access. All of my stuff is available. I don't got no private page, no likes. I tell people, you got to make it all private. Yeah, I mean, you shouldn't be posting it.
Preach. Come on now.
People be out here screenshotting my stuff, and they be trying that they got me on some shade. I'm like, child, do you not see that glow on that post? This is public. You can, I be like, they screenshot. I'm like, I know you're going to screenshot it, so you can screenshot it. All of my posts are public. All of my tweets are public. All of my Instagram is public. And if I feel like I can't make it public, that means I need to DM a friend or call somebody or call my friend. And more people should listen to that. All that, if you in media, all this private page, stop that.
Yeah.
You got to recognize that in some level you are a public figure and you just got to embrace that. The president of the United States is leading by example, for better or for worse. You got to keep you just got to keep it open. All this locking pages and stuff. Listen, now you, an average person, and I mean that with no shade, but if you are a private citizen, you can do private things. Unfortunately, I can't because I ask of much from the public that I can't be as transparent or accessible. I have to be as such. So, Ernest,
most people that are in the light like that, they typically do that when, in my opinion, they do it when they're not living their authentic lives. And so, when you're living double lives,
When you 100% with that, then you better tell it. And as people have been spoken for, as men has been spoken for, like we do, you can't be confused. Don't get my DMs with that nonsense because you already know my relationship status is public. People know my relationship. What I'm hiding him for?
For
People
what?
I didn't know you married. I didn't know you in a relationship.
You preaching.
Listen,
You
I'm sorry. They can call me. They gonna call me for serving those views. Judge yourself. But let me tell you, when you listen in relationships out there, like I'm just telling people. First of all, let's start here. Why are straight people having DL relationships?
Oh, I don't know about that.
Straight people be having DL relationships. And what I mean by DL relationship is this whole nobody got to know all your business. I'm sorry. But if you are with somebody you plan to spend the rest of your life with, how is that person going to keep being a mystery person in your life? Like, there's got to be trust there. I don't care if you know who he is, because I know where he lays both of his heads at night.
Oh my God. Oh my gosh.
People be doing that. Like, oh, they got to hide people and stuff. People be like, oh, weren't you worried about when you post a picture with him? Like, what people? No, I don't. I don't.
First off, oh my God. First off, y'all, if you all do not contact this man,
I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
I had to just go off. People asking friends to sit them down, like, what are you doing? Cropping him out. And then it was crazy that when they be going through the pain and stuff, people can't even feel sorry for them because they don't even know you had. You be on your time, you're like, I've been going through a lot, y'all. Pray for me with this relationship. I'm like, I didn't even know you had a relationship, and I don't even know if I could. Because guess what? When you reveal the face, I would have been told you he was trash. You scared to show because you're messing with someone you shouldn't be messing with. Or you messing with somebody that I'm going off. I'm just saying.
Mr. Ernest. Oh, contact information. Any more contact information?
That's all. Google, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and I have a website, ErnestOwens.com. All of my links are in my bios. Just follow me there.
He is 100% approachable. So by all means, please reach out to him. Please. Ernest, thank you so very much.
Thank you.